I want to start today with a bit of a riddle. It's Monday morning. The market just opened. Charts are flashing. Tickers are scrolling. News alerts are, pinging your phone every 3 seconds.
Total chaos.
Right, total chaos. In that specific moment, what is the most aggressive, decisive power move a person can make?
That's a loaded question. Usually people would say buying the dip, shorting the spike, pivoting, doing something.
Exactly. We're wired to think action equals movement. If I'm not clicking a button, I'm losing.
Right.
But what if I told you that according to the material we have today, the most powerful move is actually to do absolutely nothing?
The art of stillness. It sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it? Especially in a world that just glorifies hustle.
It really does.
But you're right. Today we are looking at something really special. It's not like a technical manual on how to read candlesticks, and it's definitely not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's called The Stoic Trader, a framework for market wisdom.
Right, and this comes from the red team trading community. And when I first opened this, I was expecting, buy at this support level, sell at this resistance.
The usual stuff.
Usual stuff. But it reads less like a financial textbook and more like a survival guide written by a philosopher who's seen some serious trench warfare.
It's extremely Darwinian. That's the vibe I got immediately. It's not about flourishing, it's about not dying. It's a collection of these aphorisms, these dense, punchy one-liners that act as a framework for survival.
And survival really is the key word here.
It is.
It really is. So the mission for this deep dive is to unpack these one-liners. We want to see if we can extract a mental model that works not just for trading, but for decision-making in general. Because the defining philosophy here is summed up in one brutal quote right at the start.
Which one is that?
I'm not here to be right. I'm here to survive.
And that changes everything. If your goal is to be right, you have to predict the future. You have to know what the Fed is going to do, what the earnings will be. It's impossible.
Completely impossible.
But if your goal is just to survive, you just have to manage your exposure to risk. It shifts the focus from ego, look how smart I am, to endurance.
So let's unpack this. The source material identifies a primary enemy. And surprisingly, it isn't a market crash or hedge funds or some high-frequency trading algorithm. What is it?
It's urgency. Specifically, the trader's own internal sense of urgency.
Your biggest enemy is not the market, it's urgency. That hit me hard. Because when things are moving fast, every fiber of my being says, hurry up, don't miss the boat.
That's the biological response, right? It's fight or flight. Your cortisol spikes, your heart rate goes up. But in the jungle, that keeps you alive.
Yeah.
In the financial markets, that response gets you killed.
So what's the antidote?
There's this brilliant line in the source, calm is a position.
Calm is a position. I love that. But I have to, play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
What does that actually look like practically? Because to a lot of people, sitting there calmly while the market's going crazy, it just looks like you're frozen.
Right. It looks like you're doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like laziness, doesn't it? Like if we're not in a trade, we're not being productive. But the Stoic trader argues that standing on the sidelines is an active strategic choice. It links back to another key line. Cash is a valid position.
Okay, but isn't cash just sitting there,
Right.
Losing value to inflation?
Well, think about it this way. Imagine two soldiers. One is a machine gunner just running through the forest, spraying bullets at every noise he hears. He's very busy. He's taking a lot of action.
And he's probably going to run out of ammo or get shot pretty quick.
Exactly. Now imagine a sniper. He might lie in the mud for 3 days doing absolutely nothing. He's watching, he's waiting, he is preserving his capital, his ammo for that one high probability moment.
Where the target is clear.
Yes. The Stoic trader argues that the doing nothing part is actually the most intense work you do. It's active restraint.
That makes sense. It's the difference between being busy and being effective. But this requires a serious level of self-control.
It does. And that leads to the psychological aspect of this framework. There's a quote here that I think explains why most people fail at this. If your mind is noisy, your chart will lie.
Oof. If your mind is noisy, your chart will lie. That implies that the data isn't objective, or at least our reading of it isn't.
Precisely. The market is just numbers. It's data points on a screen, but we project our internal state onto that data. If you are fearful, you see danger in a completely normal dip. If you are greedy, you see a breakout where there's actually a trap.
And the source says what? The market punishes emotional honesty.
It does. Which is funny because in therapy or in relationships, emotional honesty is the goal.
Right. But in the stock market, apparently it's a liability.
It's fatal. There's another line. Fear makes traders loud. Discipline makes them invisible. When you're disciplined, you're just executing a plan. You aren't screaming on Twitter or panicking in a forum. You're invisible. You're just working.
So the first step of this whole framework isn't actually analyzing the stock chart. It's analyzing yourself, the observer.
Exactly. You have to quiet yourself before you can even hope to read the price action correctly.
Okay, so let's say we've quieted the mind. We are the sniper in the mud. We are calm. Now we look at the screen. How does the Stoic trader view the actual data, the price moving up and down?
This is where it gets really interesting for anyone who follows news cycles. The source states very clearly, price moves first, explanations come later.
I feel like this is backwards for most people.
Hmm.
We wait for the news, the earnings report, the CPI data, and then we expect the price to move based on that.
Right. We want a narrative. We are storytelling creatures. We want to know why something is happening before we accept that it is happening. But the market, it's an aggregation of millions of people, some of whom have information you don't. By the time the explanation is on the news, the move has often already happened.
So if you see a stock drop 10% and you sit there refreshing your news feed, waiting for an article to tell you why, you're already the last person to know.
You are. The move is the news. The source is telling us to trust the behavior of the price over the narrative of the media. The price is the footprint of what people are actually doing with their money, not what they're saying with their mouths.
That's a tough shift to make.
Yeah.
Now, what about the opposite scenario? What about when nothing is happening? Those days or weeks where the market is just flat. It's just moving sideways. I feel like that's when I get the most restless.
You want to poke it with a stick.
I do.
And that is exactly where urgency kills you again. The source reframes boring, it says. When nothing moves, something is loading. And my favorite. Markets don't sleep, they coil.
They coil. That sounds kind of predatory, like a snake.
Think of a metal spring. If you see a spring compressed on a table, it's not moving. It looks boring. It looks static.
Yeah.
But if you put your hand on it, you feel the tension. That is what a flat market is.
So it's not that nobody is trading.
No, not at all. It's that the buyers and the sellers are matched in power, pushing against each other, building up potential energy. The source calls it compressed intention.
Compressed intention. That is such a cool way to look at a boring chart. It's not doing nothing. It's building up energy for the next big move.
And the longer that coil is compressed, the longer the market stays boring and sideways, the more explosive the move is when it finally snaps. So you shouldn't be bored, you should be alert.
This transitions perfectly into how they view volatility. Most people are terrified of it. When the price starts jumping around, they panic. But the framework says something different.
It says volatility is information, not noise.
So what is it telling us?
It tells you about the emotional state of the room. High volatility means high emotion, uncertainty, fear, greed. It's like walking into a party where everyone is screaming. That tells you something about the vibe. Low volatility isn't peace.
No.
The source says low volatility is not peace, it's restraint. If you can read the volatility, you can see when the crowd is losing its mind.
Okay, let's get into the heavy stuff, the actual mechanics of buying and selling. We've talked about the mindset, but there is one line in this source about entry and exit that I think is the absolute core of this whole philosophy.
I think I know which one you mean.
Entry is skill, exit is character.
That's it. That is, without a doubt, the most profound line in the entire text. Entry is skill, exit is character.
I need you to break this down for me. Why is the exit about character? Why isn't it just skill like the entry?
Think about the emotions involved. When you enter a trade, when you buy, you are optimistic. You see potential. You've done your charts, you've done your research. It's a technical decision. It's hopeful. I think this will go up.
Right. Feels good to buy. It feels like opportunity.
But exiting forces you to confront your demons. You are only exiting for two reasons. One, you made money. Two, you lost money.
And both of those are emotional minefields.
Exactly. If you're losing money, to exit the trade, you have to admit you are wrong. You have to take the loss. That requires humility. It requires killing your ego. That little voice in your head is screaming, don't sell, it'll come back. Just wait one more day.
I've definitely heard that voice. It's not a loss until you sell.
Right.
That's the classic trap.
It's a total lie. But then look at the other side. Say you are winning. You're making money. To exit, you have to fight greed. You have to say, this is enough, even though that same voice is screaming, but what if it goes higher? What if I sell too early and look stupid?
So the exit is where your personality flaws really show up. It's where you find out who you really are.
Precisely. There's a supporting quote. Everyone learns how to buy. Survivors learn how to leave. And another one that's brutal. The market forgives late entries, not stubborn exits.
Oh, I felt that one. You buy a little late? Fine, maybe you made 10% instead of 20. But you refuse to sell when you're wrong. You lose everything.
It's the stubbornness, the refusal to accept reality. This is why the source says a bad exit can erase a perfect entry. You can be the best analyst in the world, pick the perfect stock, but if you lack the character to sell it at the right time, you walk away with nothing.
This brings up the idea of losing. Nobody likes to lose. We are taught from kindergarten that winning is good and losing is bad. But this framework, it seems to have a completely different relationship with loss.
They view loss as an operating expense, like paying the electric bill for a shop. You don't need to win often, you need to lose correctly.
Losing correctly, what does that even mean?
Well, first, we need to define a term the source uses, drawdown.
Yeah, let's clarify that for anyone not glued to a Bloomberg terminal.
A drawdown is basically the dip in your account balance from its peak. If you had $10,000 and now you have $8,000, you're in a $2,000 drawdown. It's that red number that makes you feel sick.
It feels like failure. It feels like you set money on fire.
Right. But the Stoic trader reframes this entirely. They say, drawdowns are tuition, not punishment.
Tuition, not punishment.
The distinction is crucial. Did you lose money because you were reckless, gambling on a hunch and ignoring your rules? That's punishment. You deserved it. But did you lose money because you took a calculated risk, followed your system, and the probability just didn't work out this time?
That's just the cost of doing business.
Exactly. That's tuition. You paid for a lesson on market probability. If you view it as punishment, you get emotional and try to win it back. If you view it as tuition, you take the lesson and move on. Small losses by long careers.
So to manage all this, the urgency, the ego, the need to admit defeat, we need help. We can't just willpower our way through this. Our brains are too messy. This is where the systems come in.
Right. The source is very clear. Framework first, opinion last, and this is my favorite definition of a system. A system exists to protect you from yourself.
Not to predict the market.
No. People think systems are crystal balls. They aren't. Rules are not restrictions. They are shock absorbers.
Shock absorbers, I like that.
Think about a car hitting a pothole. The shock absorbers take the energy of that impact so the car doesn't fall apart. When the market hits a pothole, a crash, a crisis, your emotions will spike. You will want to panic. If you have to make a decision in that moment, you will make a bad one.
Discipline is deciding before emotion arrives.
Yes. You make the decision on Sunday afternoon when the market is closed and you're drinking coffee. You say, if the price hits $50, I get out. No questions asked. Then when Tuesday comes and the price hits $50 and the world is on fire, you don't have to think, you just execute. The rule absorbs the shock.
That makes so much sense. It takes the you out of the equation.
It does. And this connects to their view on what they call reflexivity and belief. It gets a bit more philosophical, but stay with me. They say price is belief in motion, and value is gravity, belief is thrust.
Value is gravity, belief is thrust. I love that imagery. Break that down.
So belief hyped, excitement, the narrative pushes the price up like a rocket. That's thrust. Mania is just belief without oxygen. When everyone believes the same thing, the price disconnects from reality. It goes into orbit.
We've seen this with tech bubbles, crypto, with housing.
Exactly. But gravity always remembers value, the actual earnings, the actual utility of the thing. That's gravity. Eventually, the fuel runs out, the belief fades, and gravity pulls the price back down to what the thing is actually worth.
And when it comes back, that's usually a crash.
Yeah.
And the source has a specific section on calm in crisis. Because if you were in the market long enough, you will live through a crash. What do we do when the rocket falls?
The advice here is counterintuitive again. Panic is fastest at the bottom.
Meaning, right when things look the absolute worst, that's when everyone sells.
Yes. Imagine a burning building. At first, people walk out, then they run. Then they stampede. The moment of maximum fear, the stampede, is usually the end of the event. Crashes don't end in confidence, they end in exhaustion.
Exhaustion, that's an interesting word for a market.
It means everyone who wanted to sell has already sold. There's nobody left to panic. The sellers are exhausted.
So if you're looking at the chart and thinking the world is ending, you might actually be looking at the bottom.
Likely, yes. Relief rallies begin when fear runs out of breath. So the advice for you listening is, when bad news stops pushing price lower, listen. That is the signal.
Wait, explain that. The news is still bad.
The news is terrible. Unemployment up, war breaks out, inflation rising. But the price, stops dropping. It holds steady.
That means the market has already priced it in.
Exactly. It means the selling is done. Stability returns before optimism. If you wait for optimism, if you wait for everyone to feel good again, you've missed the recovery. You have to buy when it feels scary but acts stable.
It's really a masterclass in separating your own psychology from the reality of the market. It's about being a cold, observant machine in a room full of screaming people.
Clarity calms crowds. If you can be the one person who has a framework, who isn't reacting to the noise, you not only survive, you thrive.
I think that applies to so much more than just stocks. I mean, think about leadership. Think about parenting. When your kid is having a meltdown, if you have a meltdown too, it's chaos. If you have structure.
Exactly. Rules don't push people out. They reveal priorities. That's a leadership axiom if I've ever heard one.
So let's try to summarize this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. If we boil it down, it starts with managing urgency. The market isn't the enemy. Your need to act now is the enemy.
Right. And then respecting the silence. Understanding that a boring chart is a coiling chart. That volatility is information.
Then the crucial distinction. Entry is skill, exit is character. You have to be willing to lose correctly to survive. You have to kill your ego.
And finally, using rules as shock absorbers. Because you can't trust your brain when the heat is on.
Feel less, think more. That's the directive.
It's funny, usually we tell people to get in touch with their feelings. This source is like, no, put those in a box, lock the box, and look at the data.
Because in this specific arena, feelings are expensive. The market doesn't owe clarity. You have to create it yourself through your framework.
There's one final thought I want to leave everyone with. It's a quote from the signature lines. I don't chase certainty, I manage uncertainty.
That's the pinnacle of the wisdom here. Amateurs want a guarantee. They want to know for sure what will happen. The Stoic trader knows that certainty doesn't exist. There is only probability and risk management.
And that's the question for you listening right now. In your own life, whether it's your career, your investments, or just the big decision you're putting off, are you paralyzed because you're waiting for certainty? Are you waiting for a guarantee that is never going to come?
Or are you ready to stop chasing certainty and start managing the uncertainty that is right in front of you?
Something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Survival beats prediction. See you next time.